Welcome back, climbers, to that podcast where we answer the most important work questions, such as discovering who didn't change out the coffee filter so you basically brewed hot bean soup 3 minutes before your next meeting. Episode 6 of Climbing Ladders starts now. Hello, all you hardworking climbers. So happy to have you listening along to Christine and I as we try to make sense of careers and why cubicles seem to be getting smaller and smaller every year. We've had some incredible guests join the podcast lately, including our awesome friend John Piney, who last episode shared his adventure into starting his own business. If you haven't checked it out, you can find that episode and all of our other episodes on the Climbing Ladders Spotify channel. CT, we sure talked a lot about golf last episode with John, and I saw a post on your Instagram, your fancy new G4 golf bag. How's your golf game coming these days?
Uh, it's okay. It's truly just okay. But on a serious note, it's actually been a lot of fun. I mean, am I good? No, absolutely not. Are there embarrassing moments? All the time. But it's been really good just to have it as another form of bonding with my husband and friends. Where I live in Northern California, we're around a lot of courses. So I'm super excited to get my girls into golf once they're old enough and just a little more curious.
That's great. It sounds like you're keeping your golf relationship just casual status for now. I like that.
Yeah, we're
Um,
not serious.
I think in my next life, I want to be a golf influencer, just play golf for a living and try to score some clothing endorsements from brands like Grayson and G4. I think just that seems ideal. And maybe next podcast together, we should call it the Caddy Climbers or something. What do you think?
I love that idea. Right now, there's, a lot of girls that are going and putting, like, little podcast clips or, like, microphones, and
Ooh.
they're just recording, like, their hype to each other. I think it's super cute. But funny that you mention golf influencers. My best friend started her own golf Instagram page, mainly vibes right now, but she's been looking into branding and possibly merch. No, this is not a sponsor post. But go check it out if you're just, like, an aesthetic golfer. Her IG handle is Cherry Lane Social, super cute. But on that note, what is our social topic today for our listeners, Kevin?
Yeah, well, today we're talking about the unsung heroes of the workplace, work besties. You know, the person who makes those endless meetings survivable and reminds you that happy hour is only 3 PowerPoints and one conference call away, right, CT?
Seriously, forget those stale lunchroom donuts, forget your quarterly corporate merch. You can only have so many puffer vests. But having lived in the Bay Area in California, so many tech bros with their vests, like literally best friends. But
Mm-hmm.
back on course, the real employee retention strategy is making sure you and your work besties' desks are within whispering distance. And if you've ever had to hold in your laughter during a meeting because your work bestie sent you a meme or quippy team message, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, we certainly had more than enough of those moments together, CT, in our past work lives,
Mhm.
probably wearing puffer vests. Uh,
You.
Definitely me with every color in my closet.
Yes.
I mean, I just think back, I would have tears rolling down my face daily with you guys. I have no idea what we were saying, if it was really that funny or if we were just delirious from the crazy work hours and the smell of all the colorful whiteboard markers. Either way, it was
Totally.
an awesome time. Okay.
Always, always. So let's define it. What is a work bestie? For me, it's not just another teammate or someone you work well with. It's the person you Slack me at 10:03 a.m. They're like the first one that you hit up. Let's actually try and define this thing. What makes someone your work bestie versus just a coworker? Kevin, what's your thought?
Yeah, you can have friends at the office, people you get along with casually, but to quote one of the best restaurant movies, Waiting with Ryan Reynolds, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra, and that's your bestie. If you've ever made eye contact across the room with something ridiculous happening in a meeting, that's your work bestie. A coworker, you can eat lunch next to each other. A work bestie, you have hidden code words for sneaking away to lunch like, let's go for a walk, or we need to work on Project Sandwich right now. How do you define it, CT?
Yeah, I would say it's along that. I would say a coworker knows your job title, what you're working on, maybe even knows that you had to take your pet to the vet since you didn't respond to their quote urgent Slack message. A work bestie, however, knows your snack drawer inventory, which calendar block is real or fake, and if it is fake, what you're going to go do
Yeah.
and exactly who on the team is driving you nuts. So, you talk about more than just work. You talk about life, and work is a great excuse to also hang out. Because let's face it, work bleeds into home and home bleeds into work life. And sometimes it's nice to have someone who understands this with you. So, no judgment on you leaving early for a once in a while personal thing, but also as the one rooting for your professional achievements too.
Yeah, I agree. The rooting for your professional achievements, they are your personal professional cheerleader. Another good way to differentiate the two, there are people you say good morning to when you pass them in the hallway. A work bestie will say, ugh, we made it through another week. And then you can go back and forth between laughing and trauma bonding support. And that makes everything in the world okay again, right?
Yes, yes, for sure. Just like real life friendships. When I say real life, these are actual real life friendships too, but those that you met outside of your 9 to 5. How do work friendships bud? Some people say instantly, like at your work timed orientation or onboarding, or sometimes it's over a shared trauma. But for me, I would say most of my best top tier work friendships are 100% created over work trauma. I mean, Kevin
Uh,
and I, or for those of you that have listened to our past corporate confessionals episode with our guest speaker, Heather Hinton, we were bonded by having to sit on the floor and quote workshop something for a client. Again, trauma bonding. To explain how that transpired, we were lower on the totem pole back then, and every time our boss left the room, we would look at each other and literally, like, let out a breath. We could actually breathe, and then we would use that time to complain before our boss walked back in, and then
yeah.
it kind of grew from there. From then on, anytime we passed each other, we would roll our eyes in our secret language of, "Oh my god, she's crazy," in reference to our boss. But again, it builds on that too because those eye rolls expanded into dialogue. Dialogue then went into work trips, and work trips went into hours of being stuck in Ubers, planes, and waiting in corporate lobbies where we would share some very intimate things of our personal lives.
Yeah, and hey, just for the record, since you brought up Heather, I'm also glad you and Heather could become closer friends thanks to me by laughing at all my really awesome NASA space apparel in my jacket. So
Oh my gosh.
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And like you said it, I think any best relationship, it's probably a combination of time, shared interests, shared work frustrations. I also believe a big factor is not only do you enjoy working together, but you actually do good work together. There's a trust. And CT, I think about you and me, and I could always trust you to do great A plus work and make anything I was working on better. Some of my favorite moments were when we had a big presentation or a sales pitch coming up, and probably in true Avengers, whatever it takes moments, we'd buckle in and knock out some of our best work together.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree with that. I have to share this story. So I think one of my favorite meetings was when you had nothing prepared, and like
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, you said you had nothing, but I know you're always thinking about it. But to explain, we were meeting with a client on the East Coast, and I kept asking you like, "What do you need?" I'm kind of like your Robin to your Batman, and you're like, "No, I'm fine." It's just like a pulse check on our project, that's what you told me. The CEO we had at the time, and for our listeners, Kevin and I have endured 3 different CEOs together, and not all of them at the same company,
Oh,
so
yeah,
we've been
yeah.
trauma bonded. But, this specific CEO was the type to write everything in a presentation and read it word for word.
Yep.
It would take him forever, but Kevin went into this meeting with literally a one-page presentation and nailed it, and that is just his vibe, and I was apparently there for vibes and validation, which is my favorite role, but he nailed it. But to be honest, I know he can pull off anything, but that one did stress me out.
Wait, that wasn't the meeting I wore the kitty cat hairband, was it?
No, but I have that picture. We were near Pennsylvania. I won't say the retailer or the client, but,
Got it.
yeah,
No,
you're
thanks for
yeah.
saying that and calling me Batman. Hey, quick side note presentation tip. Say what you need to say, just like John Mayer.
Oh
One
gosh.
slide can say more and be more memorable than 45 slides. Okay. But to your last thing is when you're with your bestie, they always have your back. And whether you're going through something, I specifically would call you out, CT. You would go so above and beyond. You would bring me lunch all the time if you knew I was running full in an intense meeting or some time consuming project. Probably also helps, I'm basically a 5-year-old and always down for chicken tendies. So thank you for being that partner for me.
You are easy to pick out food for, but
Yeah,
that
thank
actually
you.
goes into our next segment, which is perks of having a work bestie. And no, not just someone who does coffee runs and brings you food, but that's part of it. So let's talk about the real perks of having a work bestie. Because honestly, they're worth more than the corporate branded puffer vest. Like, first perk, instant therapist.
Mm.
You can walk into their cubicle and start with, "You will not believe this." And they're always nodding. They're, like,
Uh,
either nodding in agreement or nodding because they want the tea. But the best part is they also don't charge $200 an hour, but maybe just a coffee run or chicken
ah,
tendies.
yeah, I love coffee run. What is it about a 10-minute walk to Starbucks mid-morning that feels like the greatest short-lived mental break vacation ever?
Because just being outside, and I know this, I truly know being outside, getting some vitamin D, whatever, I truly know it's good and I don't do it enough.
Yeah.
So
Good
that's a
reminder. I mean,
yes.
in Minneapolis, my friend Trinette and I would walk the Skyway system, which, if you don't know, is the hallway system that connects all the downtown buildings together, so you never have to go outside when it's negative 20 degrees in March. Nothing clears your mind better than that Starbucks run with your bestie, and it's amazing what you can catch up on in 10 minutes, whether it's sunshine or that little walk. Oh, thank you. Therapist matters.
Totally.
Second perk, survival during boring meetings. You got that whole telepathic side eye language going on, right?
Right. But pause, I don't know if you've heard about Starbucks. They're closing a lot of their little shops
I
down.
read that. Yeah.
Mhm. Just have an alternative walking destination.
Support your local coffee shops.
Yes, yes, actually really like to do that. But back to what you're saying, the telepathic side-eye language, and once you kinda know who your work bestie or someone that just has the same vibe, you totally can just, like, look across the table and it's like, "Yep, we're totally dying inside, but at least we're dying together," right? And
Yep.
then let's also add another perk to that,
Yeah.
accountability. They'll stop you before you hit reply all with your actual thoughts.
Yes. Especially when you're about to send that angry email,
Mhm.
and they'll say something like, "Don't step away from the keyboard." And
Yeah.
then maybe something like, "Let's go to my desk. I have Girl Scout cookies that I bought from Brenda's niece last month." And, oh, it's like kind of speaking of snacks,
Sacks.
s
Let's talk
speaking of
about
sacks and
sacks.
snacks, sacks of snacks, that's a perk too. Yeah. They know when you're hangry and they show up with a bunch of trail mix.
Ugh, I do love a good corporate snack. What I hate is when my husband goes to his corporate office and only brings back power bars. I'm like, I know your company has some really legit snacks, and you bring back bars that you never eat. But, anyways, besides the point. Thank you, Kevin. So I think what we listed are real definition of friendships. Someone who saves you and The Office from your 3 p.m. meltdown. I constantly have 3 p.m. meltdowns. I need my second win.
Mm.
But I can tell the difference between those that are down versus the ones that are downers. And you're going to hear a lot of stories throughout this episode, but one of this actually helped me identify those that were down for me in one of my previous roles. It was where I was constantly burning the midnight oil, and I was doing that a lot. This was my burner phase for sure. There was a team of us, and there was a clear divide. Half feigned their commisery and would be like, "Oh, that sucks that you're staying here late. Well, don't stay too late," and they would like go and skip out of the office. And then the other half were super tired of seeing me there so late that they literally took their bags back to their desk and helped me with the project. And honestly,
Wow.
that wasn't a trauma bond, but they did give me a sense of camaraderie, and it definitely created a strong bond of "I got your back," and it made work so much more bearable.
Ugh, people helping people. So
Yeah,
easy, right? Even just an extra 30 minutes to show, hey, let's go over this creative, or maybe here's some ideas that we can do, or do you want me to send these 3 emails? Just every little bit helps, right?
every little bit helps, and, instead of me staying there for an additional 2 hours, I was only there for 20 minutes, and that literally did not take that much time out of everyone's day, and the impact was huge.
Well, I know you do that for all your teammates
I
too. And
would.
it's also easy to think a work bestie is your venting buddy, but it can also just be the most amazing, healthy relationship ever. I'll tell you, at one company, we were growing pretty fast. We had a lot of new people, and we wanted to have another leader to be a peer on the exec team. And during the interviews, I went to have a coffee chat with one of our leading candidates. And within 3 minutes, it was literally like stepbrothers. "Did
Oh my
we just
gosh.
become best friends?" "Yup." And this guy Stanch has become one of my favorite friends work in life, and we just had the best time working together.
I love that.
Before I keep talking about Stanch, let's go on a quick sponsor break. Speaking of besties, we have one at Climbing Ladders, and it's our good buddy, Brian Kulik, founder of Glassman Wines. Nothing is better than having an incredible sponsor for our podcast that not only is gracious in their support, but is the perfect wine pairing while listening to our show. Normally $35, we have a climbing ladder special for only $24.95 a bottle. If you email my friend at Brian at briandavidwines.com, we'll have info in our description. Support our work besties, Glassman Wines, and please don't forget to drink responsibly.
Yes, we love Brian. Speaking of, we've gone through a lot of high points of having a work bestie. Let's talk about the not so fun parts. This goes into how do we feel or what do we think when our work bestie leaves, and also the watch outs of having a work bestie. We love our work besties. They are such a huge part of our lives. What happens when one of you leaves the company? How do you deal with that loss of your companion? What would you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it can be a real big deal. I go back to my buddy Stanch, who I just mentioned, to show how close we were. He likes to boat, and while he's the captain of his boat, he declared I was his first mate, and we even had matching Adidas boat shoes. So we were that tight. Another story with us, it was his birthday. I think it was a Thursday. And after work, he invited me to go have a drink with him and his wife. Yeah, just the three of us. And what I learned later that evening, it wasn't just his birthday, it was his wife's birthday as well. And they were supposed to have this beautiful romantic dinner out, and they insisted I join them for dinner after drinks, and despite me trying to let them go have their fun, he even paid for my dinner, like the true gentleman that he is. Can't make that up. So you can imagine we're very close. And when I decided it was time for me to move on from the job, calling Stanch while he was on vacation in New York with his family to tell him the news I was seriously leaving was harder than any breakup conversation with a girl I've ever had.
I can imagine that. It definitely feels like a breakup, doesn't it?
Totally, totally.
I mean, one day you're chatting at their desk, the next, they're sending you goodbye happy hour invites and posting their LinkedIn. I'm so excited about my new role. And they're listing all these desirable aspects of a new job, right? Such as like a positive work culture, revenue upside, and going public. And you're like, how dare you thrive without me? Like, I've been here for you, but you gotta let them go.
Yeah, you jerks. Hey, you've moved on to something better. I do believe, at least from my experience, most work bestie relationships can live on beyond the halls of the office. You are still supportive in your career for them and whatever they're working on, no matter what. And you never know when you'll circle back with your ex bestie at another career or maybe start a podcast, right, CT?
Yes, yes, we've definitely have circled back a few times, and we've learned a lot each time for sure, but,
Mhm.
you're right, sometimes that does happen, and it's pretty darn fun to pick up where you left off. I think it happens more often than not, especially if you're still staying in the same or similar industry. Speaking of the watch outs, making new connections at work without feeling like you're, quote, cheating on your old bestie can happen also. So when you catch up with your ex bestie, the one that left, you try not to tell them about all the fun you're having with the new coworker.
Mhm.
You just tell them things are going well, but not that you've happily moved on or created your own like little language and memes that you guys pass back and forth. So as much as this topic has been sunshine and butterflies, I want to bring up another watch out, and I'm going to go ahead and let you answer this, Kevin. So,
Okay. Mhm.
yes. So what happens when your work bestie is of, say, the opposite sex or someone who you are just spending a lot of time with because of the nature of the business, work
Mhm.
trips, or you guys have these crazy projects or deadlines that constantly need attention? How would you present this to your current significant other to make them or ensure that there is no threat?
Great question. How to present it? Just don't present it. Be super shady. Never mention that person's name at home. Kidding.
Like log their name in as Domino Pizza.
Yeah. Why is Domino's texting me again at 11 o'clock at night? No, kidding. The way I think about this is just be honest. There's no need for hiding or shenanigans. I think it's important for you to talk with your spouse about and be clear about the support and fun that your work bestie is providing at work. And I think it's okay to go hang out all together for drinks, maybe a tiki bar or definitely golf. I do believe there's one thing that's important here is that marriage metaphor of the work spouse, work wife, work husband. I think that term is getting to be post peak. It's really time to just elevate the work bestie, which I feel like we're doing an amazing job in this podcast by
Mhm.
mentioning the phrase work bestie 100 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Work
I think we
bestie, work
clocked it
bestie, work
in like
bestie.
150 times already. I think we've
Yeah.
yeah.
No, great question. Speaking of, let's do a mini 2-question rapid fire game with no questions about who we want to survive on an island with, because the obvious correct answer is me.
For a day, like only 6 hours, and then you're
I mean,
done.
the scoreboard's 1 to 1, but I mean, we just need to go ask more people and we'll
Yes.
find out. Okay. What is an inside joke you and your work bestie still laugh about today?
Oh my gosh, I have so many, and my work bestie and I, like, several of us, I can't say a lot of them on the air or on this podcast, but this one I can. One of the most random ones, it was in my early merchandising days. I was part of a travel team that went to train and help stores set up. This is also where you may not know anyone and you delegate or divide based on strengths. So
Mm,
I bonded instantly with a couple of the people in the group. There's like 8 people in the total group, and we kept we kept saying, "Who's eating corn chips?" We were
what?
saying this all day. And everywhere we went, we kept smelling corn chips, like Fritos. By the end of the night, I got a message from one of the 2, I guess I can say friends that I made in that group, and she goes, "I figured it out." And apparently it was her roommate. Her roommate was one of the other 8 people in the group, and she didn't
Okay.
wear socks that day. So and it's a very active job. So she did wear socks, and thankfully, we were able to gently recommend she wear socks since we're on our feet all day, probably 1 to 2 times a year. I get a gift or a meme about corn, and we've been friends for almost, like, 20 years, so
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
literally get a corn meme a couple times a year.
Wait, okay, just to clarify, her feet smelled like corn chips?
Yes, so she had, like, flats on, and if you don't wear socks or anything like that, it just I guess, I don't know, there's, like, little poofs of air, and then we were constantly together, like, in closets or rooms, like, small quarters, or we would even walk next to each other, and I'm like, I thought it was me. I'm like, "Did I do something? Why do I smell like corn chips?"
Well, 1, I think I've never really smelled corn chips from someone's feet, so I'm gonna look for that. And then the second part is, I thought you were gonna say someone was just crunching on Fritos and leaving crumbs all over the store.
I wish that was the case, unfortunately, but
Oh
no.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
How about you?
Well, okay, well, my story does not involve smelly feet, but it doesn't directly involve fragrance scents. My friend, Lori and I had a vendor who in one of their sales decks was trying to show why this color and scent story was on trend. You've done this CT in your past work. The bullet points to support this trend were only 2 words, which was surfboards and fun with a big exclamation point. I swear it was almost like a five-year-old finished the deck. This was years ago, but if Lori sends me a text that says surfboards and fun, I'll immediately die laughing. It's just funny the stuff you remember after being in your career for 25 years.
But, like, think about it, how successful was this company if you're still talking about it? Like, maybe that was the point.
I mean, this is a massive company,
I think
the
I know who
leader in
you're
its industry, and I can't believe that's what they gave
no,
us to go present.
I think I know who you're talking about, but
Probably.
I've seen some of their presentations, so it kinda tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's our last one. Would you quit if your work bestie quit?
If my work bestie quit, it would hurt. I'd be inconsolable for 24 hours, maybe have a good cry, eat a tub of ice cream, not rum raisin, and then just move on with my life. Maybe there needs to be like a support group, or maybe there's a Hinge or Tinder for finding your next work
Oh,
bestie.
I'm sure it's out there.
I think it's called LinkedIn.
Well, how did Stanch act?
Well, Stanch was really sad for, like, 2 weeks. I I was talking to his wife, and she's like, "You really gotta talk to him about how you can still hang out with him after you leave." It was a traumatic experience for both of us, to be honest.
I think that I mean, that's a really good example of someone taking it really hard.
Yeah, but he's still there at the company, and he's crushing it. What about you?
No, I definitely would not quit. I mean, yeah, that sounds really cold the way I said it, but I think for work, it's not a one size fits all, you know? So I
Yeah,
believe we are, I guess, as a metaphor, like hermit crabs trying to find our new shells that fit the best. But just because the shell fits my friend doesn't mean it'll fit me. I, of course, would always hype them up and be there for all the things. But man, I think all these stories, it's such a good jog down memory lane. Like this
for
whole
sure.
episode.
Yeah, and think about all the great relationships and people that you've gone through these incredible experiences with. It's pretty fun to think back on, for sure.
Yeah, I honestly feel there's because you're spending 40 to 70 hours a week with these people or in some capacity. That's a lot. That's more than your spouse or your kids or your family sometimes.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So today's lesson, jobs come and go, but a good work bestie is basically office family for life. Like Fast and Furious, we know family is everything, and it's the
Mhm.
best when you can find your ride or die.
ZT, you're my Vin Diesel.
I love it. I love it.
You're supposed to say I'm your Paul Walker.
Oh no, I want you to stay alive.
Okay, then I'm, like,
You're
just
Tyrese or Ludacris.
yeah, sure.
The
Luda.
the resemblance is uncanny.
I get it all the time.
I know. Well, thank you for telling me that I'm your Vin Diesel. I think that's the nicest compliment you've ever given me.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
Yeah.
To all of our amazing listeners, please keep passing on your feedback and stories. We love hearing all of it. And thank you again for supporting our side hustle. Sharing all of this fun with you has just been it's just been super great. And if you
Mhm.
don't have a work bestie yet, look for the person side eyeing the same meeting nonsense you are or just rolling their eyes. That is your people.
Yeah, thanks for listening to Climbing Ladders. Go text your work bestie right now. They probably miss you. And as Dominic Toretto would say, keep on climbing those ladders 1/4 mile at a time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.